Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Readstore Roadmap and Office 365 preview. We're delighted to have seen such an overwhelming response today with nearly 400 sign-ups to today's webinar. Just so you're aware, we expect this session to last approximately 40 minutes. As you'll notice, James and I managed to get the Redstor memo around the blue check shirt, so hopefully you all got the same. Moving swiftly on, my name is Rob Buckton. I'm the UK Sales Director here at Redstor, and I will be taking you through a brief introduction and Redstor update, and then I'll be handing across to James Griffin to my left, who is our Chief Product Officer, and we'll be running through an interactive poll and Q&A session towards the back end of the webinar. Please feel free to ask any questions via the Q&A button at the top of the Ring Central screen that you have on in your screens now. We'll aim to answer as many questions as we can today, but we do appreciate there may be too many to answer within the allotted time. So any questions we don't get to, we will endeavour to make sure that we respond to those and come back to you via email. Please do make this as interactive as you possibly can. It's very good to continue to get feedback. So briefly, let's move on to the slide really that talks about who Redstor are. So Redstor is a cloud-first data management SaaS company. We're more than backup. Effectively, from our point of view, we deliver you a host of features that I think people typically have seen us come from a backup background, but our feature set is really there to optimize your infrastructure through our archive feature. Our insight feature enables you to make objective decisions around what you back up and your archive strategy. We're cloud first to overcome some of the challenges of ransomware that we've recently seen in the press, and I'm sure you may well have been made aware that's recently been circulated by the Cabinet Office as well to all of our council chief executives. And finally, instant data, which is the lifeblood of our service. That provides you with immediate access to your files, whether they're backed up or archived, and is a real differentiator for both Redstor and yourselves within the marketplace. Our aim is to make sure that we enable your data management journey to be smart, simple, and safe. The next slide really gives you a little bit of an overview about who we are, but I think the key points to mention in this is that we have a large number of both local and globally distributed customers. We're a proven and trusted technology partner for these organizations. And the key is not the number, but the extent of the global coverage. We have office locations and cloud agnostic capabilities across multiple geographies, ensuring that we can meet the requirements of those data sovereignty requirements for local storage and so on. We're a UK headquartered business. We operate 24/7 support, which is really key, obviously, to make sure that you get the response that you require. Through our history, though, key to this, through our history is we transitioned from being a reseller. We then became a managed service provider, and now, as of 2015, we've been a vendor. And the really important thing to understand there is that we really understand the different needs of our customers across the different part of their journey that they're on. We're very proud to draw your attention to the NPS score there of 68. And what that means is that our customers are promoters and they're willing to recommend us. And we're very proud of that stat. We're not just a software vendor. As a cloud service provider, this NPS score rates us not only on the quality of the software, but also the quality of the service and the support that we wrap around that software package. Moving on, we can talk a lot about what we believe is in the marketplace, but don't just take our word for it. I think there's been an element of brand recognition that Redstor's finally achieving. And the really good thing that we see in this slide is that we're no longer a hidden gem. We're now receiving the accolades and the recognition we've earned. We have been highlighted as the only vendor with an all-in-one solution in this IDC market glance for data protection as a service. According to the market analysis that IDC have undertaken, data protection as a service is the fastest growing segment in the data protection industry. If you'll notice, we've bolded out some of the sections here where Redstor features. Redstor is the most prevalent partner, or the most prevalent vendor, should I say, in the most sections of this IDC report. which is something we're very, very proud of. And that sits in backup as a service, archive as a service, DR as a service, workload migrations, and also backup and recovery tools. So let's just talk around the reasons we're here today. The reasons we're here today is to talk to you about our roadmap, but also about our developments for Office 365. This is a service that we have launched, but we continue to develop. So the reasons we've developed this service is really around service maturity. As this service, or Office 365, continues to be adopted at such a great rate, that's increased the risk. We know that people are using Office 365, they're collaborating with Office 365, it's becoming a default tool for collaboration and sharing data and hosting data. So as a result, we need to make sure that that data is treated accordingly and backed up and protected in the right way. You'll notice on the right-hand side of your screen here that the Microsoft Service Agreement, Clause 6, that relates to service availability, actually stipulates that people should be making their own plans. Microsoft are not responsible, and they encounter and are susceptible to service interruptions as much as the next organization. And they actually advise, and you'll see the underlying section here, that they recommend that you regularly back up your content and data that you store on the services or store using third-party apps and services. So even Microsoft themselves are suggesting that you should be working with partners like Readstore. Furthermore, there is a need for simple and predictable pricing. We know that the market is a challenge, and one of the things that we're trying to provide is a pricing and a commercial structure that enables organizations to have a single service provider for many, many different services that are provided, whether that's archiving, whether it's backup, DR, and so on. And the key for us is to make that as simple and predictable as possible. Furthermore, we've listened and we've prioritized. We're pleased to see that the Readstore community continues to grow, and we encourage our community to feed back to us and talk to us. We're delighted that people are so vocal, and it's because of that vocal community that we're here today to talk about some of the reprioritized features and the launch of additional services today. We've invested. Historically, those of you who know Readstore, we've tried to do as much as we can in-house, but we know that delays in some cases the route to market and the speed to market. So actually we've invested heavily by going outside and bringing in external expertise to build and complement our existing developers, take what they know and what they've created within Readstore and add to it and bring it to market as rapidly as we can, so that we can make sure that we hit the deadlines and the market deadlines that we're seeing today. Our 4-in-1 offer, our 4-in-1 service offer, we talked about earlier on, your backup, your DR, your archiving, and your service and insight, all backed up by instant data. It's key that Office 365 sits within that 4-in-1 service wrap. And so our aim is one vendor to continue delivering additional services to cover further critical applications. And enhancements. Today is really about how are we going to continue to enhance our roadmap, our services, and continue to add value to our customers. And at this point, I will now hand over to James Griffin, who is our Chief Product Officer, to talk you through our roadmap and further services around Office 365. Over to you, James.
Great, thank you, Rob. So for those who I haven't met yet, I've met many of you. I'm James Griffin. I'm the new Chief Product Officer, and I'm about 6 months into my role here at Redstor. And one thing that Rob talked about was the level of feedback that our community offers us. And I think it's fair to say that's made my job in my first 6 months really easy, because the steer from our customers, prospects, partners has been very, very clear where to put the effort. And I'm going to take you through some of the improvements that we've made both in the roadmap and obviously to Office 365 as a result of that feedback. But I just want to say, really, this is all about getting much closer to our customers and to the market and the community of people that work with Readstore. So you may have already seen that we are sending out more regular surveys. We're starting to do more events, but there's more to come. So over the coming months, we're looking to add touch points in the product where we'll elicit your feedback on specific features. There are some closed and open beta programs we're going to run around some specific developments where we're going to work with customers to refine the products we take to market and really work as a group, as an ecosystem, to make sure we're spending Redstore's considerable resources on the services that you want to consume as a user community. So that's a big focus for me. And that really drives the whole product strategy. And I thought it'd be worthwhile sharing some of that with you today, so you understand where we're going and how we're going to go about things here over the coming months and years. So the first thing is my role here is to create advantage in the market for obviously for Readstore, but for our customers and partners. So of course that means our products have to have the hygiene factors in them. But really, my job is to find the right market waves. And to do that, I need to be massively in tune with our customers and their needs, and to solve the problems that are out there in the market differently to how our competitors do things. Readstore has its own unique DNA, and we're certainly not here to copy other organizations. What we're here to do is put our own stamp on the market and really get behind what we know works as Readstore. I'm passionate about automation, so customer-facing transaction engines, you're going to start to see increasing amounts of automation where we can remove friction from some of the processes that you've fed back to us that are a little too manual in today's cloud day and age. That's really, really important. But on the back of that, there's a lot of automation that the Readstore team is now using around telemetry, how people are using our products, so we can make the right decisions on what we build, how we build that, and the user experience that we offer to our customers. And user experience is really, really important. We have to have an amazing experience in our software. The way it's designed is changing, where user experience is at the very start of the process. And what you're going to see a bit later on with Office 365 is a new look and feel. And that new look and feel, we've collaborated with a number of customers and partners to really refine that. And that's the way we're going to work going forward. So this is all about iterating and refining what works, but also stopping what doesn't. And when we show you the new roadmap, what you'll also notice there are some things that we've just decided no longer to do, and put our efforts behind the winners. Now, that new roadmap, we took some time out in October, and we spent that time wisely speaking to our customers, speaking to the markets, and making some balanced decisions on where we thought the right investments should be placed. And these are some of the highlights, but I think the headline message is that over the next 6 to 9 months, we've introduced a roadmap that delivers 65 major new products and features to our customers. These are some of the big requests which hopefully you'll recognize, from an online shopping experience where our partners will be able to come and onboard easily, onboard their customers, and buy software from Readstore in a more automated fashion. We've introduced better support on our core backup product for Linux, and some of that actually we're ahead of the time with. We're early to market with some of the improvements that we put on the February edition of the roadmap. Teams has been a constant theme. Virtually every conversation I'm having, Teams and the support for Teams is at the top of the list. And I think it's really topical at the moment as remote working takes off. The use of Teams out there in the community is absolutely growing like crazy, and we're going to introduce support for that in the next couple of months. Now, one thing we're spending a lot of our time and effort on is creating a single interface that looks and feels the same. No matter what type of service you're using from us, you'll get the same look and feel. I'm going to give you a view a bit later as to how that, or the direction that's going to take. G Suite, particularly for our educational customers out there, has been a huge request. And again, we're going to introduce support for G Suite in April. That will be our first edition, alongside our current support for Office 365, and I'll take you through that very shortly. But of course, the biggest, by a mile, request from the community out there was to improve and add some features and functionality to Office 365. And I'm delighted to say, as Rob said, we made a significant investment in some external resource to help us get that to market much quicker, and that's a new way of working for Readstore, and hopefully you're going to see the results very soon. So if I just highlight something, a piece of feedback that was given to me was around better communications with our community. So we get lots of feedback, and that's fantastic. And that feedback really helps us do our job properly. We analyze the feedback, we compare it across different customers, and I think it's fair to say that the feedback's been, we don't typically communicate very well what we're doing with that feedback. And that's really important. I think if people are putting time to give us the feedback, we really want to do a better job of feeding back. So the first thing we've done is introduce this new product update document. It goes out with our release mail every single month. And what it includes now are the product notes for what's just been launched. So every month we have a release. In the release, you'll see the release notes. They're now in this document. But really importantly, in this document, we have the roadmap, and we have commentary as to what's changed. And alongside that commentary, we have voting capabilities. So this is now the source of the truth. If it is on this roadmap, in that document, it is something that we are actively working on. We're committed to deliver against these timescales. And there's also, within that document, a list of candidates. Now, these are things that we think we're going to invest in and that customers have asked us for, but we haven't necessarily committed to. We might be validating them, we might be debating the business rationale. But by having you read this document and vote on those features, it really helps us place those bets. So the way we've organized this roadmap is around the key focus areas for Readstore. As you can see, Office 365 at the very top of the list gets the most significant investment. And this isn't just a one version release. You're going to see the first iteration from our current in-market product right now. I'm going to take you through those key features. But in April, we increment our SharePoint capability. In May, there's more Exchange capability, support for Teams. In June, again, we increment our capability on Exchange and on OneNote. July, August, we continue to go. So there's a constant cadence of improvement for Office 365 that we're committed to, and we'll be delivering against these dates. As I said, G Suite we're going to introduce in April. Now you'll notice there's some gaps around G Suite, and that's really important. As I said, working with our customers to refine and iterate the product is absolutely key to the way we work. So there are some gaps on the roadmap to allow us to launch version 1, work with our customers and partners and take feedback, and then build the product and increment the product from there. Now the web-based storage platform console, this is, as I said, we want to introduce a single interface, single look and feel, where no matter whether you're on Office 365 or you're using our core products, archiving, backup, search, you have the same look and feel. So we're effectively creating a brand new front end for all of Redstore's products. Those will incrementally start to surface in the product from June, with the first 2 products being Office 365 and G Suite, followed then very closely by some of our core functionality from our Enterprise Server Edition product. For the partners on the call, you may have heard, and you certainly will be hearing about this. We're making a significant investment in a brand new reseller management portal, which goes into preview in the next few weeks. We're going to run a closed beta with a set of partners. If you're interested in participating, please contact me. But once we've refined that platform, we're rolling out to the partner community in the UK in August. And finally, we're incrementing our capability for the operating systems that we support in our core products. So we introduce better support for Linux, starting with Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7 this month, and just about to go into the door our Ubuntu and SUSE editions. We brought forward support for Windows Server 2019. I think that was a fairly significant request of the community as you start to work with those machines. And we've added support coming in June for Mac operating systems, specifically Catalina will be supported by the ESE agent from June. And then finally on our operating system support, full system recovery onto Azure for Linux operating systems, which again is a large request from the community out there. I think the point is there's a lot of stuff on this roadmap, 65 plus new features. That's the start. We want to go faster. We want to introduce more features as long as they're valuable to you. Keep the feedback coming. And as we gather pace over the coming months, hopefully, not only will we be ticking these off as we go, and you'll be able to hold us accountable. We'll be doing a monthly webinar, but also you'll start to see September, October, November, more things going on and Readstore moving quicker. So, March, we committed to launching some new features for Office 365, and this is a preview of them. The reason we wanted to preview them to you all is there's some fairly significant changes to the way it looks and feels. So next week, when we go live with this product, it will look different, and we wanted to showcase some of these changes as well as some of the key additions. So let's just recap. One of the big requests we had was the support for calendars and contacts for Exchange. So what I'm going to do now is just quickly take you through that, show you how that's going to work, and then I will then take you through some of the next features. So as you can see here, we're logging into Readstore as normal with our username and password and accepting the terms and conditions. The new look and feel, well, this is what it looks like. It's a different, we've lost the black, it's a softer color palette. So as it works today, you put in your Microsoft credentials, that connects the two accounts. And you will then be able to go into the Exchange selection. You can see calendars was already pre-selected, and contacts. You select the account that you want to add it to, click save, click back up, and that is done. That user is now being backed up for contacts, calendars, and email. It's as simple as that. So, of course, that's as I said earlier, a hygiene factor. The biggest single request I have had since joining is single item recovery. And that's the ability to pull back one item out of a backup set rather than having to restore entire mailboxes or entire backups. So I'm going to show you two instances of that now. So I'm here in Office 365, and I'm in Sent Items, and for good reason, I'm going to delete this really important email. So that email is now gone from Sent Items, as you can see. Now I'm feeling particularly difficult today, so I'm actually going to go and delete this really important contact here in my contacts book, and hey, that's gone. Luckily, I'm protected by Readstore. So if I go into the Readstore product now, I'll show you that we can find and recover those individual items. The first one we need to do is the email. So we click recovery. We'll find that user, and we'll go to the backup. We obviously know we have a daily backup, and it was in that backup. We select the mailbox, down to Sent Items, and there you can see my very important email. So we'll recover that. It's just going to ask for our credentials to log into Microsoft. Okay. And that's done. Now I'm going to show you just bringing back that content, the contact that we just lost. So again, exactly the same process. Click recover. I'll go to the individual item from that backup set. But this time, instead of selecting mail, I'll select contacts. That's the one contact I deleted. And I'm recovering that. Again, it will ask for my credentials. Now, if we go back to Outlook, that's all you need to do in the Readstore product. If you go back to Outlook, and we'll scroll down here, we're in Mail, you'll see Readstore restores. The mailbox is there, and if I scroll down to Sent Items, there's just that one item. I just drag and drop that straight back to where it should be in Sent Items, and that is now recovered. Contacts work slightly differently, but equally simple. So if we just go back to contacts, there's a recovery folder there. I select the contact from the recovery, and this time I use the move to function, move it back to contacts. It's there. I clean up that folder, and that's it. We've recovered those two individual items, which was one of the biggest single requests we had. So that's now in the product. So OneDrive, a lot of people requested more granular recovery again for OneDrive, particularly folders. So I'm going to show you the recovery of this, but I'm going to show you a slightly different way of recovering using Redstore's instant data. So if we just go to the next slide, that will launch OneDrive. So exactly the same, I'm into the same window, but this time I want to recover using Redstore's instant data. So I'm going to select the account and click recover. That's all I need to do. Just pop in my Microsoft credentials again. Now that's done. What we'll now do is go to the user's email. And we'll see an email with a link to Readstore Instant Data. Click the link. And that runs a small utility download. Let's just fire that up quickly. We want to run temporary file access here. That will launch Readstore Instant Data. We'll just let that download. As you can see, it's fairly quick. Less than 30 seconds to bring that across. We want the last backup, and we want to mount this as a Z drive, and there we go. That's now mounted. I can then open the OneDrive. I can drill through multiple folder levels. Obviously, they're all called folder, interestingly, until I find the file that I want. There it is. I'm looking for that PNG, and I can do what I need with that file. So that's how simple it is to recover an individual file, multiple levels of folders through the new edition of the product. Now, finally, with compliance being really, really a critical request, there was definitely an ask of, could you please give us an audit log that allows us to track who's done what, who's backed up, who's recovered. So again, I just wanted to quickly show you the audit log. When you log in next week, you'll see a new button at the top of the screen. If you were to click that, that's going to bring up the audit trail. You can now see some of the actions I've just done. You can see the IP address, the name, what they did, who the user was, and exactly what time they did it and with what product. So it gives you a full audit trail of who's doing what in the product. So that's a whistle-stop tour of some of the key requested functionality, but I think for me the key message is you as a community asked us to deliver those features. There they are. We said we'd deliver them in March, and they'll be going live next week in March, and that's them there. The new look and feel is fabulous. I think our UX team have done a great job in designing that and working with the customers to really refine it. We'd love to hear your feedback once you do use it in anger. But the recap really is those new features and that look and feel go live next week. We're going to continue to significantly invest in the product. So you're going to get incremental features every single month. And for those that requested it, which a lot of you have, I think importantly, we'll be adding team support in May. And look out for the webinar closer to the time. So I think I'll hand back to Rob, and we can get into some polls and Q&A.
Yes, so if you'd like to, if we're going to now launch the polls. So as I said, this is a really useful opportunity to make this as interactive as possible. So we're going to launch the poll. So be very grateful if you could spend a couple of moments just looking through these 3 questions and answer them as honestly as you possibly can, please. And we will just sit here looking silly for a bit whilst you complete that task. That's a remarkably easy thing for us to do, actually, in fairness. So just while we're waiting for the poll to complete, it is a live poll, so I'm delighted to see that it's the number of responses is shooting up as we speak. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time. So we'll just wait for another 30 seconds or so whilst we finish those polls. I would probably suggest that now is a good opportunity for us. I'm conscious of time. We've got about 10 minutes left of our suggested 40 minutes. Now would probably be a good time for us to run to a Q&A session. We're delighted, as always, with these kind of webinars. We like to make them interactive, as I said earlier. It'd be great if we could just run through some of the questions. As I say, we will try and answer as many as we can today. Anything we don't get to, we will revert back to you by email. So I will. I'm struggling to see that because, as you can tell, I'm a glasses wearer. So I'll head back over to James now to look through
fantastic.
some of the questions.
Lovely. So one thing I'm definitely, and thank you, there's a lot of questions. I'm certain we won't get through them all. There are that many. So let's just take them as they are. And as Rob said, the ones that we don't get to, we'll circulate some response to. So first one is, do you have any plans to support Macs? Yes, sorry, I glossed over that really quickly. In June this year, we will be introducing support for macOS Catalina on the ESE client. So that will allow you to do backup and recovery of a Mac running, so a laptop or an iMac running Catalina or forward of Catalina. Okay, yeah, next one. Sorry, I also wear glasses, which are in my car. Does your G Suite product also support Google Drive, G Drive? Yes, the first iteration of G Suite will have more parity with the new iteration of Office 365. So although it's our first MVP of the product, it will have slightly more maturity and features. So it will include single item restore, which of course our first version of Office 365 didn't, but now will. It will include searchable items. It will include support for Google Contacts, and yes, it will include support for Google Drive files and folders. Okay, do I have to pay extra? Do I have to pay extra for Teams or support? No, is the answer. As Rob said, we operate a fairly straightforward pricing model. There's no extra charge for those. You connect your data sources; they'll be in the product, and off you go. Start protecting them.
I think it's worth just highlighting. We you'll notice in a couple of the slides, we actually refer to what we call our 4-in-1. One of the things that we've noted is people do quite often come back to us and say, if I want to start using the archive function, for example, I'm using you for backup today, but if I want to start using the archive function, what does that cost? Is there an additional license? Likewise, if I want to start backing up into Azure, for example, is there an additional license cost? The key thing for Readstore, and one of the key differentiators, is our feature set and the way in which we continue to add to the functionality. It's a single price. All of the features and functionality that you see in our service and our product portfolio, it is all a single price. The biggest challenge that we have at the moment is making sure that people understand that they have the full functionality and the full feature set at their disposal. And so therefore what we are actually doing is encouraging organizations, and you'll see members of the team reaching out to you as key partners and customers, ensuring that you do understand that as part of your subscription, you have the full availability of the full feature set and the functionalities that we've talked about today. So that there is no additional charge. It is an all-in-one solution.
Brilliant. I'm reading ahead on some of the questions. There are quite a few G Suite ones, so while we're talking G Suite, maybe we just knock them off. But I just wanted to remind everybody the poll is still open, and about half of you have completed the poll. Fantastic response. We'll be grateful to get the rest voting so we get a full picture for the audience. But just on G Suite, so there's a question, will it still launch in May? Actually, the answer is it will be launching in April. That's on the current roadmap, and that's available to you. Will it add single item recovery when it's launched? I think I've answered that, but just to confirm, when G Suite goes live, it will allow single item recovery. Let's go back to the first one. When is Teams being launched? May, again, and just to give some more clarity on that, Teams, when it launches, version 1 will include support for chats, wikis, files, groups, and site collections as well. Sorry, if you just close these ones too that I've done. My account manager told me about a new partner portal. Yes, which I think I mentioned. So I mentioned there's a new partner portal. And, excuse me, Office 365 will be supported.
Yes, so whilst James recovers, so our partner portal is something that we're very keen to make sure that our partners make full use of. It's going to be a great opportunity for partners to make sure that They can automate as much of the onboarding of their customers as possible. And so therefore what we're trying to do is to reduce the amount of manual intervention that partners need to make, and likewise it enables us to launch new products and services and go to market in a much more smooth way.
Great. So I've seen lots of Linux. When will it support FSR? Full system recovery. Sorry, that's our internal acronym. So full system recovery for Linux starts rolling out in June. That's Red Hat 8. Okay. Does the cost go up or down with the number of licenses I have? Well,
yeah, so at the point of launch, as far as we're concerned, we view, as you know, those of you who enjoy a Readstore relationship, everything is charged on a per gig basis. So at the point of launch, we're going to be operating the same principle. We're keen to try and make sure we reduce the complexity, something that we've always tried to strive for. And so therefore, at this point, we anticipate that we'll be moving forwards with a per gig model rather than a per seat model. But again, we do appreciate the market changes, so we will continue to make the appropriate amends accordingly. One of the things we have seen is that the backing up of Office 365 has often been prohibitive based upon large volumes of users or large volumes of per seats. And so as a result, people haven't been backing up, because if they've got, for example, 10,000 users, actually the cost of that is very, very large compared to what is in a lot of cases a relatively small amount of data that's created. So at the point of launch, we will be working on the same per gig basis, but as I say, we will continue to look at the market and understand what's most cost effective for our customers.
Okay, just got another one. Will I be able to restore Office 365 to PST files? The answer is yes. In July, that will be coming. That's been added to the roadmap based on some feedback we had.
So this is the benefit of live Q&A. You get to see two sides of people's heads as we look over the screens.
Okay, I think we've answered those three. About price per gig. Can you just scroll down the list? Keep going. We've answered that. I'm not actually sure what that is. Question 2 relies. What is the cost? So it's obviously per gigabyte price, which I think we've answered in terms of the price. I think have a conversation with your account manager.
Yeah. So as far as any costs are concerned, all of you that are working with Redstor already have an ongoing prevailing charge. That prevailing charge will be the same for Office 365 as any other data that's stored.
Yeah, okay. Next one is something we didn't talk about today, actually, which is support for VMware at the hypervisor level. We're going to build a new edition that will support VMware at the hypervisor layer. It's not on the roadmap yet because I'm currently defining it with the team. What I can tell you about the sort of design brief is it will be in the new look and feel, so it will be in the new front end. We want the experience to feel agentless, so we want you to be able to log into the web portal and select multiple clusters of servers, no matter what cloud they're running on, whether they're running VMware on AWS, whether they're running on-premise, and select those and back up and then recover them from one cluster to another cluster. That's the brief. If you are interested in helping us with the definition of the VMware product, now's the time to get in touch with us. So please maybe put your hand up on here or email me directly, james.griffin, Griffin, @redstor.com. We would absolutely love to hear from you as we start to define VMware and get that ready to be built and tested. There was a question there from Bruce about search. So yes, Bruce, the answer is, so the question is, will there be a search function for Office 365 restores? That's something that's planned as well. We can take you through that in more detail. In terms of search itself, we'll be adding the ability to search individual items in this release that goes out next week?
I'm just conscious of time, so
should we take?
We'll take three more questions.
Questions.
Not three, clearly. We'll take three more questions because I'm for once in our lives we're actually inundated with questions, which is always the risk of live
great.
webinars.
I think there's a really good one there. For those that are new to Readstore, can you explain the billing model per gig protected data versus what's being stored? So maybe.
Yes. So to make it again hand that one across to the non-technical person. The principle behind Readstore is that we charge based upon what is selected rather than what is stored at the back end. One of the things we're very, very proud of is that our capabilities around deduplication is extremely good. One of the things that we see in a number of our competitors is actually the extent at which through poor deduplication, actually the amount of data that might be stored, i.e. at the back end, may be in excess of 3 or 4 times what is actually selected. We changed that model and we basically charge for what you select. Therefore, we take the risk on what sits at the back end, because ultimately it's our software that's creating that efficiency. So it's in our best interest to make sure that the software is as efficient as possible on the storage side of things, i.e. what's on the back end compared to what is protected or selected. Sorry.
Fantastic. So I think we said we'd take 3 more. That was one.
Yeah, I said 3.
3. There we go. Will the online reseller control panel allow multi-tier resellers, i.e. sub-resellers of a reseller? So the answer is yes, but. So it does allow multi-tiering. There are just some bits of capability that you lose. So if those are important pieces of capability to you, there is a second option, which will be able, for the right levels of investment, to provide a dedicated MSP portal for multi-tiering. But the first stage, I would say, is if you're interested in finding out what capabilities you retain over the 2 tiers, is to put your hand up and come and join us on the closed beta. And you'll be able to really ascertain from that whether it will meet your needs or not.
Last question.
Any plan? Oh, maybe we take that one because that's a great one. Any plans to support Microsoft Dynamics? The answer is no, not yet. It's not a candidate. However, at a recent partner event last week in London, we asked some questions around different SaaS products that we should be protecting. So Salesforce, for example, Xero, that you might be working with, and Dynamics was top of the list. So what we'll now do is start to validate that with the rest of our customers, the rest of our partners, to see if there's real market demand for customers. That's the beauty of us being our own software vendor, is we can move the roadmap where the demand is. So if there is demand for Dynamics, you can be sure, if we can make the numbers work, we'll bring it into the roadmap. The only way to make that happen is to feed back to us if that is something you see value in and it's something you'd like to pay for and buy from Redstor.
So I think, as I say, I'm delighted to have seen so many people actually join us, and thank you very much indeed for your time today. I think one of the things that James has just highlighted there is the value of feedback, the value of community. In my earlier slides, we talked about the reasons we're here today, the reasons we're making the announcements we're making today is fundamentally on the back of the feedback that we've had from yourselves as representatives of what the market's looking for. So those of you who have been with Readstore for months, years, we're delighted to still have you as customers, of course. But more importantly, I think what you'll see is the roadmap today is much more condensed. It's much more focused. It's got a level of commitment in there. It's got a level of dates in there, and it's got a very, very clear set of deliverables. And that is something I think that is significantly a significant change for those of you who have been with Readstore for some time. So I'm very pleased with that James has come on board and has given this level of definition and clarity for our customers to be able to see that their feedback does matter and we're acting upon it. So hopefully today what you've seen demonstrates our commitment to you as our customers and to developing market-leading services. And all that leaves it for me to say is thank you very much for your time. We ran a little bit over. I appreciate that. 5 minutes is a record for me, actually. It's normally a lot more than that. But thank you very much again for your time. If you do have any further questions, James has given you his email address there. Likewise, a number of you will probably have mine as well. I'm rob.buckton@readstore.com. And please do feel free to reach out to your account manager or your technical account manager so that you can understand how we can continue to service you moving forwards. But once again, thank you very much, and enjoy your weekend. All the best.
Thank you.